Faceless Shadows. In one of the forgotten villages nestled between mountains and valleys, there stood the remnants of an ancient, abandoned palace, cloaked in ivy and mist. This palace was known as the Palace of Al-Murad, and everyone in the village warned against approaching it. The tales of the elders spoke of its haunting by shadows, mysterious beings with no faces, drifting silently through the halls, waiting for anyone daring enough to cross the threshold. The beginning. Adam was a young man who never believed in superstitions. Adventurous by nature, he often mocked popular legends. He would say, "People are afraid of their own shadows. How can we fear an abandoned palace?" One cold winter night, Adam sat with his friends at the village's small cafe, Sami, Noha, and Reem. He challenged them. "Let's go to the palace tonight. We'll stay there until dawn. If we come back unharmed, you'll all stop repeating those silly tales." The others hesitated, but under his persistence, they finally agreed. The journey to the palace. At midnight, the four of them grabbed their flashlights and began walking along the dirt road leading to the palace. The fog was thick, making it hard for them to see one another. The closer they got, the colder the air became unnaturally cold. When they reached the rusty iron gates, they noticed that one of the doors was already ajar, as if it had been waiting for them. "Strange ... Who opened it?" Reem asked in a trembling voice. Adam laughed and said, "Maybe the ghosts are excited to welcome us." He pushed the gate open, which groaned loudly, and they stepped inside the palace. The main hall was vast, and the high ceiling was barely visible in the darkness. Broken glass crunched beneath their feet. The walls were decorated with faded engravings, and the ground was covered with moldy, rotting carpets, filling the air with a foul, damp smell. Suddenly, ... all the flashlights went out. Reem screamed, and everyone clung to each other. But just as quickly, the lights flickered back on without explanation. Sami stammered, "Let's go upstairs and find a room to stay in until dawn." Upstairs, a creaky old staircase led them to the second floor. There were several doors, most of them shut tight, except for one at the end of the hallway slightly ajar. They approached it cautiously, and when they entered, they found themselves in a large room with a stone fireplace and worn-out chairs. They sat down and began chatting to ease the tension. The shadows began to appear. About an hour later, Reem noticed something strange. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement behind them. Tall shadows, drifting slowly, even though the room was empty except for them. She whispered fearfully, "Did you see that?" Adam laughed mockingly. "Just your imagination." But he didn't notice that Sami and Noha were staring behind him in terror. Adam turned quickly and saw something he would never forget. Behind him, along the wall, were dark, faceless figures without eyes or mouths, moving like dense smoke that formed and dissolved. Before they could run, the sounds began. Whispers, unintelligible words in a strange language that filled their hearts with overwhelming fear. The escape. The four of them ran toward the hallway, desperate to reach the stairs. But the hallway seemed to stretch longer and longer unnaturally. The more they ran, the farther the walls pulled away, as if the palace itself was trying to swallow them whole. Reem stumbled and fell. Adam tried to help her, but an icy, invisible hand gripped his wrist. It was the hand of a shadow. He struggled with all his strength to break free and managed to pull Reem up. They kept running until they finally reached the stairs, hurried down, and pushed toward the main door. But it was firmly shut. Sammy shouted, "Open it! Hurry!" Adam pounded on the door with all his might, and the wood cracked beneath his blows. Finally, the door burst open, and they all rushed outside. The ending. As they moved farther away from the palace, they felt an immense weight lift off their chests. They panted and shivered, glancing fearfully behind them, and from a distance, standing at the palace entrance, they saw them. The shadows, their unseen eyes glinting, watching them silently as if promising there would be another encounter.